Welcome. Okay, here's a question. Can you really find love, like actual compatibility, using data points, a logical design?
Or does that whole messy human experience, just defy that kind of structure?
Exactly. And we're going to explore that, really dive into it through a specific book and its main character, Don Tillman. He's quite something.
Oh, he is. It's a story about using this highly rational, almost scientific method for, well, probably the least rational project, finding a life partner.
Yeah.
And as we unpack this book, maybe you'll find some things that, make you think a bit differently yourself.
So Don Tillman, he's a professor of genetics, smart guy, 39, fit, pretty successful in his work. High status, you could say.
But he admits, quite openly really, that he struggles with social stuff, relationships.
Right. He literally has only 2 friends. And he's basically given up on dating the usual way.
Yeah, he says it has a low probability of success. And honestly, he's had some bad experiences, so he's done with it.
So what does he do? He approaches it like a scientist.
Exactly. He sets up a project, the Wife Project.
His mission is to find a partner using like a rigorous evidence-based method.
Yes.
It's not dating, it's research.
Mm-hmm. And the method itself, it's incredibly detailed.
Yeah.
So stringent.
He creates this huge questionnaire.
Right.
Covers dozens of criteria, all designed to filter people based on measurable compatibility.
Yeah, it's all about minimizing the variables, maximizing the predicted success.
Think about some of these rules. Punctuality was huge, like 1 minute late. Unacceptable.
Oh, yeah. And they needed to show some mathematical literacy.
Right. And food preferences.
Mm-hmm.
Very specific. He thought, what was it? All ice cream flavors taste the same because they're chilled, especially fruit ones.
Uh-huh. And a big one.
Yeah.
Absolutely no smokers. Non-negotiable.
It's like a blueprint, a precise blueprint for his ideal partner.
And he didn't just, make the list and leave it.
No way. He pushed it out everywhere. Online, singles parties, speed dating events.
Super thorough data collection.
And the initial results.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
pretty stark. He got, 279 responses online, 304 total with the paper ones.
And his friend Jean's reaction.
Yeah. Jean basically asks him, you don't think you're setting the bar just a tiny bit high?
But Don, he was completely unwavering, wasn't he?
Totally. He saw finding a wife as the most critical decision, period. Compromise, not appropriate.
So this perfect system, this careful filtering, yielded.
0. A definitive 0 suitable candidates.
The system failed.
Or maybe this system wasn't the whole picture, because then chaos enters. Beautiful chaos.
Rosie.
Exactly. An unexpected variable. She was not found through the questionnaire.
No, his friend Jean brought her in. Kind of a wild card. And based on Don's own list, his criteria. She was, a complete disaster on paper. Right. She was late. Smoker, disorganized, irrational about ice cream, unnatural hair color.
Couldn't cook, seemed bad at math. He even thought she was a barmaid at first.
She failed pretty much every single point on his list.
Logically, Wife Project says, reject immediately.
But that's where the story just takes this fascinating turn, doesn't it?
It really does. Dawn gets pulled into Rosie's own project.
She's trying to find her biological father using DNA analysis.
And Dawn's reasons for jumping in, they seem kind of contradictory to his usual logic.
A little bit, yeah. He frames it partly as, a scientific challenge. His brain likes the puzzle.
And he uses that phrase, altruism to adjacent humans.
Which sounds very Don.
It does. But you feel there's something else going on too, right? Some kind of instinct pushing past the logic.
Definitely. It's fascinating how he throws his research skills at her problem, even though he kind of acknowledges that, rationally, his skills could be used for, more important things from his viewpoint.
It feels like the first real crack in that logical armor.
And the book just excels at showing these moments, these little stories, where Rosie just completely shakes up his world. Like that time he gave the impromptu lecture.
Oh, the Asperger's discussion. Yeah, that's a key moment.
He basically stands up and argues pretty forcefully that Asperger's is a variant, not a defect.
Right, and he connects it to advantages like organization, focus, innovative thinking, even rational detachment for problem solving.
He contrasts the creativity he sees in people with Asperger's with the parents, who seemed more worried about just, social niceties.
Mm-hmm. And he genuinely thought he made his point well, timed it and everything. It's a neat insight in the book about how society maybe misunderstands different ways of thinking.
And then there's the balcony meal, another classic disruption.
Total chaos for his system. She's vegetarian. His standardized meal system just implodes.
He's recalculating everything on a whiteboard, ends up eating this lobster salad meant for two all by himself.
But then, totally against his usual routine, they decide to eat outside on the balcony.
And their rain stops.
And he feels this feeling he just calls good when Rosie laughs at his joke about, like, buying a fraction of a lobster.
Yeah. And they actually talk about difficult customers, instinct, learned behavior, even genetics and her stepfather.
These disruptions, these unexpected moments, they seem to lead to these genuinely positive feelings he didn't plan for.
The bartending gig, too. That was great.
Oh, yeah. His preparation is peak Don, right? Memorizes the bartender's companion, gets the certificate.
Ready to mix anything, but the actual job.
Just taking orders, collecting glasses, not making fancy drinks at all.
Kind of anticlimactic preparation-wise.
But then Rosie gives him that little social trick for names. Hi, I'm Don, doctor.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, Don actually finds himself having fun in this social setting he'd normally hate.
He says he was enjoying myself immensely.
And his knack for remembering all those drink recipes, it actually impresses people.
Mexican Gold or Freddie Fudpucker?
It shows his skills, the ones that seem rigid, actually have value in surprising ways. Especially with Rosie sort of guiding the social side.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's the New York trip. That feels like a really major turning point in the book.
Definitely. Rosie just kind of takes charge, tells him straight up, we're going to see New York.
And, okay, sure, the Natural History Museum is the highlight for him in his usual way of thinking.
But he calls the whole day with Rosie the best day of my adult life. He even specifies, excluding the museum itself.
Which says a lot. It shows his priorities are still there, but the shared experience had this huge impact.
It's a big distinction. And the clothes shopping bit?
Oh, yeah, his whole practical versus decorative view.
Yeah.
And that Bianca scarf moment where Rosie kind of shows him he gets aesthetics and connection more than he thinks.
And meeting Dave, the baseball fan. Connecting over stats. Finding this unexpected friendship completely outside his normal circles.
It broadens his world. And then meeting Isaac Esler, a potential father.
His reason for wanting to meet Rosie.
Just simply, I wanted to see Rosie. It cuts through all the science, doesn't it? Sometimes the human reason is just the reason.
Yeah. And that whole hand-holding thing that just completely confuses Don, he calls it mind-blowing.
These aren't just plot points. They're moments chipping away at his certainty about how everything works, especially connection.
You really see him changing, growing through these interactions. Remember how distressed he was earlier when the dean told him to just fit in?
Oh, yeah. It shows how much those conventional norms just didn't work for him, his authentic self.
So that realization in New York, that feelings could actually, override his logical brain, that's huge for Don.
Massive. And he starts letting go of the systems.
Deleting bits of his schedule. Giving up the standardized meal system entirely.
Trying oysters. He sees it as a whole world opening up.
It's symbolic, right? Embracing the unknown, the stuff you can't schedule.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? He reflects at one point, maybe he designed the questionnaire not just to find someone he could accept,
but someone who would accept him, just as he is.
That's a powerful thought. And his choice later to defend Kevin Yu, even though the guy broke the rules.
Right. And Don admits his own fallibility in that process. It shows this developing empathy, flexibility.
Yeah.
Stuff that just wasn't there before Rosie.
So all this leads to an outcome that, well, no algorithm could have possibly predicted. He realizes he's in love with Rosie, despite her failing every single one of his original criteria.
And that confrontation. It's so typically Don, but also so different.
Oh, yeah. His directness. Telling her she's totally unsuitable, according to his list.
That focusing on the list was an incredible mistake.
And Rosie's reaction is just as direct, focusing on the feeling. She asks him, do you feel love?
And based on his answer, which is probably quite logical, maybe clinical.
Or just hard for him to articulate in her terms.
Right. She concludes he can't really love me by her definition. It's heartbreaking, but understandable.
Mm-hmm. And the Father Project finds its own complicated end, too. Isaac Esler isn't the father. Uncertainty around Jeffrey Case.
But Don makes that big decision not to test Gene's sample. Protecting his friend, respecting privacy.
It's a deeply emotional choice, not a scientific one. The project formally ends when he loses his lab access.
And the book leaves them together in New York.
Married, navigating life. He's doing research remotely. She's studying.
And that story about the cellar interrogation, it becomes this funny anecdote they share.
It's just such a powerful example from the book, isn't it? How life, especially connection, it just doesn't follow the plan.
His super logical scientific search led him right to the person who defied all his rules.
And brought all this unexpected chaos, yeah, but also growth and real joy into his life.
So it brings us back to that first question, thinking about Don's story, for you listening. He started with this rigid system.
And ended up with someone totally unsuitable by those metrics, but who made his life richer.
What does that make you think about connection, about happiness? Is it always logical, predictable?
Or is there something vital in the unexpected, the illogical, even the chaotic?
It's definitely something worth pondering, isn't it? Don's journey in this book is just a great reminder that sometimes the best things happen way outside the lines we draw.
Absolutely. So think about Don's story, maybe based on our chat today. What really stands out for you?
What's it tell you about that balance between logic and maybe intuition, or just that messiness in how we connect with people?
Think critically about that balance. It's a complex thing, and this book explores it beautifully. Thanks for exploring it with us today.